Welcome to Actual Scale Modelling. For my next build, I'm building this Airfix BAE Nimrod scale 1 to 72. Now this is quite an old kit from Airfix, so I expected a few problems along the way. And it's going to be a straight out of the box build. So let's jump into it. The kit comes with a basic cockpit, so I decided to do as much as I could in it without adding any extra. So I'm starting off painting the pilots. So the helmets is going to be this Umbro 130 white satin. There'll be a mixture of paints on the build from Rebel to Tamiya as well. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I haven't used the Umbro paints for a while, so I thought I'd drag them out. So the next paint selection on the pilots is Umbro number 61 Flesh. It's quite a nice flesh colour, this one. And for the boots I'm using Umbro number 85 Coal Black. And for the uniform it's number 96 RAF Blue. And finally for the respirator face mask I'm using Life Colour Black and Rubber Shields Tire Black. Just gives off a nice thirsty look to the pipework. Now I didn't put a lot of detail into the pilot really, because you don't get to see much of it. For the seat surrounding framework I use Umbro number 32 Dark Grey. Now the cockpit was mostly made up of one colour, and I went for Umbro number 78 Cockpit Green for this one. Going back to the cockpit seats, for the padding I've used Black Rubber Shades Tire Black, again for the dusty looking effect. Moving on to the joystick control lever, for this time I'm using Umbro 127 US Ghost Grey, and then for contrast I'm using Revel 36 Carmine Red, and then for the handle it's Umbro 85 Coal Black. As you can see, it's a huge decal sheet for this one. I'm just cutting out the control panel decal. Later on though I found that these decals have gone over. They're bad. They kept on breaking up. This one was okay, but I'll go into that near the end of the build. I did have trouble with the decal, putting it onto the instrument panel. It goes into a deep recess, where then the bottom control panel pops out, sticks out. So it was really difficult to get it in. Now the paint has been taken care of, it's time to put the sub-assembly together. So I'll just start off with the back panel and then the seats. I did have to slightly open up the location points on this. Then it was the pilot. Now there's only 3 pilots, 3 chairs, but the sprues have 4 seats on them. So don't get confused, it's definitely only 3 are going. And then it was the controls, and lastly the control panel to go in. So next up is the front wheels. So the inner part is getting painted in 78 Cockpit Green by Umbro, and the outer part is getting painted in Life Colour Rubber and Black Shades Tire Black. Supporting struts for the wheels is getting painted in 127 US Ghost Grey by Umbro, and the inner housing for the wheels is Umbro 78 Cockpit Green, and I painted the outer in 127 Ghost Grey. Now I should have painted it in the outer colour that we'll be putting on later on, but I thought a different colour for these coverings might make them stand out a bit better, because they are actually sit inside the housing, they don't come out of the aircraft. The assembly of the housing for the wheels was straightforward. There's a couple of little holes that you just pop the struts in for the wheels. So because of those holes it's really simple to line them up. There's 2 holes so that you can't worry about the wheels being level and straight. And once it was almost dry, it was time to put it on. There's location holes that I had to again make slightly larger for the unit to fit. But once I did, everything fitted fine. On this kit you have the option for the bomb bay to be open. I wasn't sure whether I was going to do this or not, so I painted it anyway just in case. So this is getting painted in Umbro 78 cockpit green, and it was the same again for the walls of the cockpit. I wasn't sure how much you'd be able to see on this, so I decided just to paint it all anyway. As it turned out, you couldn't actually see much, so I wouldn't recommend painting it all green. It's just a waste of paint really. Time to assemble the cockpit subassembly to the bottom deck, and they're connected just with a couple of supporting brackets here. The holes fitted really nicely. So once the supporting brackets are on, or struts, it's just time to place the two of them together. Again, very nice fit, went in really easily. So while the sub-assembly is drying, moving on to the main fuselage now, and then just taking my scriber here and running down the panel lines to make them slightly deeper. They were a little bit faint, that's why I'm doing this. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. But you just take it along, put it in and scribe them down. Now this is a Tamiya scriber, but there's various ones on the market that you can use. I want to get the windows going from the inside, so to cut down on masking, I'm painting a strip along where the windows are, and it's Umbro 168 hemp. Now this is going to be the main colour of the aircraft, but this just cuts down the masking. Takes a couple of quotes, but I think it's worth doing. In between quotes, I'm concentrating on the wheels, and these are the back wheels, so they're painted in the same way as the front, with the cockpit colour in the centre and the outer, the tyre black colour. And assembling was straightforward as well. It's a good idea to place these on a cocktail stake before you use any cement to put them together. That way you're not going to damage the paint you've already put on. So just a tiny little drop before you marry up the two halves. That's all it takes. And once the wheels are drying, I painted the struts in the ghost grey colour again. So once the cement is set, now's the time to just go over the seams with the choice of colour and just touch them up. And because it's on the cocktail stick, it's really easy to paint. Then it was time to put in the clear windows. I had one or two little problems with the fit issues. You really have to press them in. I was worried about warping the plastic when I was doing this, and I did manage to lose a couple. So these are getting cemented in with Formula 560 canopy glue, and I will also be using this glue to replace the windows that I lost. So the next part is to assemble the tail rudder, and while I was trying to the opportunity to put the sub-assembly parts inside the fuselage. Now there's guides and struts to put this in. You really can't go wrong putting it in. It was quite easy. Now I had to add weight to this, so I'm taking some plasticine here and just putting in the gaps around the front wheel housing. Doesn't really matter where you put it. Ideally it should be at the front of the plane near the cockpit, but as long as it's in front of the wings, you should be okay. So I've done this for both sides, so as you can see the first side there, it's quite a lot of weight to put on it, but the instructions said minimum of 20 grams, so it's always better to go, I think, at least double that. But remember, if you do put in too much, you have to think about the weight load on the front wheel. It may not be able to handle a lot of weight. So before it can close up, the tail rudder goes in. You don't have to glue this if you don't want to. And once that was on, I put the two halves together and glued down the seams. And once you've got the cement there, I just clamped it down as I moved along the aircraft. And once the cement was dry, I wiped it down, had a look to see if there was any gapping issues. Tiny little bit, nothing major to worry about. Any gaps was filled in with Fuselage plastic putty. So there was a tiny bit of gapping issue at on the underside. I think that was me maybe putting too much plasticine inside, but again, plastic putty took care of it. There was only a little gap. So then it was back to the wheels and sub-assembly of them. Next up is to make the wing flaps. Again, the two halves just met up nicely, no flash, no nothing to worry about. Also the engine thrusts to be done. So the inner part is painted in 56 aluminium from Umbro. As I tell you, if you want to paint these or not, you really don't see them. So once all the filler and things are dry, just another quick rub down with a sand and stick. This is a fine one, just to get rid of any pores. And once you do that, check again to see if you've missed any little gaps, which I had. So I'm just putting on a little bit more filler. Paint's dry on the engine thrusters, so it's just a case of putting both halves together. The exhaust now, and these are getting painted in Tamiya's X10 gunmetal. For the housing of the landing gear, these are getting painted in Umbro 78 Cockpit green before putting them on. And when you're doing it, make sure you paint the underside of the wing with the same colour. And once they're dry, just a little bit of cement is enough to hold them together. The jet thrusters are ready to go in now, and they place in just in a little cradle inside the wing. Next for the flaps, the instruction tells you to glue both pieces together before you put them on. I found it easier just to put them on separately. Just painting the surrounding area where the thrusters are in the main colour, and that's the 168 from Umbro. It's just to make it easier when I'm painting the model, so I'm having to go tight in straight away. And the exhaust ports are the next to go in before it's finally time to bond the wings together. Now again, they went in quite easily. Just beware of your connection points though, you don't want this to slip around when you put it together. Now for the tail wing. Now this kit comes with the option of 6 different variants to it, which is quite good. It's a lot of choice, and this is the point where you have to decide really what variant you're going to be doing. So there's A, B, C, D, E and F variants. On the tail wing, there's 3 little holes to hold the fins and the aero fins and things. Depending on what variant is what you're going to be doing with these holes, whether you're going to fill them, cut them, or use the ones that are already there. So just be careful at this stage which variant you want to be doing. While the rear wings are drying, it's time to put on the main wings, and it just slots up with the Bombay here, as you can see. Again, the fit was alright, tiny little issues. You had to press it in quite firmly for it to fit, and just beware of the skirting around the Bombay area. You may want to glue this in stages to get it done. Try and do it all in one go, you may have little gaps. And the issue I had was when I put it in and pressed it hard, I actually broke open the main fuselage, so I had to glue that again. And as you can see there, I put it under a heavy clamp. So while that's drying, I'm just masking off the canopy now. So I'm putting a bit of Tamiya tape in, and just going around with the cocktail stick around the edges before using a knife with a new sharp blade to cut away the excess. When you're doing this, always use a new blade. Now the clamp's off, we sanded the area, so it's time to put in the wings, the rear wings. So a little bit of cement and put in the location holes. Now the location holes were fine, they were a little bit tight, so it just needed a little bit of pressure to hold them in. And so the second wing going in, and as you see there, I'm just inserting a bit of pressure on both wings to get them on. Time to fit the landing gear. Now these were too tight. There's a little bracket that the far end of this strut slides down, so I just had to file off a little bit. Next up is the Bombay doors, so I decided to close it up in the end. So I'm taking the solid option and just placing them on. Now it sits in little teeth and grooves which act as brackets if you're having it open. If you're having it open. The second part's going on now. So taking the time now to put in the various little parts that go on it. The landing bay housing doors are going on next. Simple case of a little bit of glue. They stabilise very quickly. Sometimes with these doors, they don't fit too well. They move about, but on this kit, it was like a dream really, and it was the same for the other side. A little bit of filler was needed on the wing root, say on the rear wings. Not much, so it's a Fuselage plastic putty. So you take your putty and just put little dots of beads down the area which you want to fill. Then once that's filled, what I do is take a top cocktail stick and just run it down roughly, where just to insert it into the gap, and then take a piece of cloth and just rub off any excess. So moving on to the doors, again I'm using the outside colour, so Umbro 168 hemp around the windows. Now these are the windows I lost putting them in. They just pinged and the carpet monster got them. Putting on these doors I found quite difficult. I dry fitted them and they seemed to be okay, but somehow once I put the cement in and I pushed them in, they all actually went in so far and there was a bit of recess, and it was too late to do anything about it, so I had to live with it. So they're slightly sticking up from the model, which is annoying, but you know, these things happen. You know, the top's taken care of. It's time to outfit it with the little bits and places. Now be careful of the location when you're putting these airfoils on and so forth. There is some location holes that you can see one there, but others that you do have to drill and some you have to fill in. So again, it depends what variant you're doing. Now it's time to fit the masked cockpit. Just a little bit of glue and the fit was quite nice. For the front of sensor rod, you have to make up the stand first, but it's just this small piece of triangle bit of plastic that fits on underneath before you assemble it onto the plane. So while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm just putting the two halves together, the tail cone, and now it's dried, the front aerial's going on. There's just two little indentations on the top of the fuselage for the bracket to fit into, and there's a connection point at the base of the bracket, so you can't go wrong in the position. You know, the last remaining airfoils going on. There's about 5 of them in total, I think. Again, make sure you're aware of the position and the location points for these. Next to this cone-shaped cap, I don't know what it's called, it goes on. There's a plastic one, clear plastic one on the other side, but that's not going on until the end. And the airfoils for the tail wing, again, depending on what variant you're doing as a position, they're going in. So now the tail cone's going on. Just a little bit fiddly trying to get the right location. Now there are a couple that goes on this part here. The instructions don't tell you to put it on, and you flick through a couple of pages, you notice the picture is on there. It's a bit frustrating because I had to go back and look through everything to see what I missed. In actual fact, I didn't miss anything. Also, as well, I should have pointed out, some of the numbers are wrong on the instructions. A couple of them, if corresponding with the sprue. So just have a look at it and make sure that you're getting the right part of the sprue. And drilling a couple of holes here for some airfoils. Now again, the instructions don't tell you to do this. They missed this part out. So at this point in the build, you've got to be really pay attention to what the instructions are saying and your own judgment to how the kit goes together. So the airfoils are going in where I've drilled the holes. Now this part I actually put in the wrong location. It should have been up more towards the bomb bay door. The instructions weren't clear, so again I just used my best guess where it went. So that's everything on, apart from a couple of clear parts which will go in the end. So now it's time to paint the model. So as I've said before, the main hull colour is Umbro number 168 hemp colour. the underside will be a different colour. So for now I'm just putting on the main colour, and it will take several coats. As you can see there, I'm putting on the thinnest of coats to start off with. So just building up the colours and layers. It's taken so far 5 coats to put on this so far to get it to this stage. Still need another 1 or 2 coats. I'm just putting on another coat now. So again, just thin layers, lightly putting it on, and then leaving it to dry before you put the next one on. Now it's the same colour again for the underside, for the skirts around the wings, and the parting on the bottom has a little bit of the main hull colour on as well. Now the main colour's on, and moving on to the hydrofoils in it, and that's getting painted in Revel Aqua Colour Light Grey number 76. Now the instructions say paint these white, but I thought it was too sharp a colour really, so that's why I put on the light grey. And once the paint and that's dried, I'm going to be marking in the panel lines with a pencil. Now the pros for the pencil are it's sharp and it's easy to use. You just run it down your panel lines, and there's an effect that I like when I put on the varnish. The graphite can run slightly, and that gives a streaky, dirty effect, which I do like on my models. Some people don't, I do. But if you want a crisp line without it running, then use panel washes. But if you want a streaking effect, however lightly, this works well. Back to the underside, and I'm putting on a coat of clear varnish here. This is Pledge floor varnish, just to seal in the colour before I use masking tape. So it's time to mask now that the varnish is dried. So I'm using here Tamiya's 5mm masking tape for curves, and this is the better tape just to wrap around the contours of the aircraft. So the tape is down, and I put another coat of varnish over it, stock paint blade, before putting on the main colour, and this is Aqua Colour number 76 light grey, and this colour is going to be used for the entire underside of the aircraft. So after a couple of coats in dry time, it's time to remove the masking tape. So I'm just gently grabbing it with a pair of tweezers and pulling it away. You can see it can be a bit difficult sometimes if you put it on too well, especially with the varnish on, but it does peel away. Yes, so just grab an end and pull it, and it should be okay. And the same with masking tape for the canopy, just gently press it with a pair of tweezers. If you do find you have any paint bleed, just take a cocktail stick and gently rub away any excess paint. Add a tiny little bit, nothing to worry about. Now, using my Formula 560 canopy glue, I'm putting on the remaining clear parts. So just a little bit on a cocktail stick and around the areas where the parts got to be joined. It doesn't need a lot, then just slip on the part that they're joining. And then once it's been dry, it's another coat of Pledge Clear, and this coat will be for the entire aircraft, so make sure you do the underside as well. As I said at the beginning of this video, there's quite a lot of decals to put on, and the decal sheet is rather large, so I've cut them up to the variant that I'm doing. So it's just 3 sections, so even though it's a big massive decal sheet, there's not that much to put on really. Some of them are very small. However, and this is where we have a problem, the decals did practically disintegrate as I put them on. I did manage, as you can see here, to put on the main ones. It was so frustrating. The decals are old. They didn't look old, or I would have scanned them, but they were old. So as soon as they were coming off the backing paper, forget about it. But as I said, I managed to get the main ones on, so it's not that bad. There's not much more to say about it really. I couldn't get them all on, and I didn't scan them, and besides that, I would have wasted an entire A4 sheet of decal paper just to put on a couple of extra decals, which I didn't think it was worth it anyway. You can still tell what the plane is, and I tend not to build planes that are 100%, well, all models, any model, 100% accurate anyway. I do like a little bit of rough looking to them. So that's it. So saying all that, that's going to bring the build to an end. For me, it was a really enjoyable build. Tiny little problems along the way. Problem with the instructions, obviously. For that reason, I wouldn't recommend this kit for a beginner, because a beginner would get completely lost on this kit. I would say medium to upwards. You've really got to understand how these kits are put together before you dive into this one. So thank you all very much for watching. Leave comments and things like that if you wish. Check out my other videos if you haven't done so. I'm sure there's something there for everyone. But for now, thank you all. Bye bye.